we're always challenged by our lack of knowledge.
I mean, in fact, we don't know what the causes of mental illness are.
Most mental illnesses, we do not know the cause.
And of course, it would be nice to know exact reasons of disorders, but maybe in the future.
I'm the Director of Research at the American Psychiatric Association. We don't know the etiology of really any of the mental disorders at the present time.
DSM-5 is coming out. It's grown to 10 times its original size, and it labels everybody. I could find 5 diagnoses that would fit you or anybody else.
Compare isto com os métodos de investigação da patologia, uma ciência que descobre doenças reais usando um vasto conjunto de testes de diagnóstico precisos.
We do millions of laboratory tests as well as the structural examination and the microscopic examination. It's a whole series of applied scientific procedures. In the case of psychiatry, there isn't any laboratory tool that can precisely identify a psychiatric disease and allow it to be classified.
It's not as if there's some study of tissue or some study of the body or some study of matter. These are all categories which are made up. They're simply made up. They don't exist in nature. They're decided upon by psychiatrists and voted on.
Os psiquiatras não são os únicos que beneficiam com o DSM. Sempre que seja encontrado um diagnóstico psiquiátrico, encontrar-se-á uma droga psiquiátrica.
The pharmaceutical corporations now contribute enormous sums of money for the education of psychiatric residents and for the support of research by their professors, so that psychiatry today has become in America, has become very largely learning which drug to use with which disease or disorder.
We need to make sure that we understand the very close interactions among the American Psychiatric Association with its DSM, the pharmaceutical companies, who love the fact that every time there's a new edition of the DSM, there are dozens more categories in there, and so more conditions for the drug companies to say, oh, we've got a pill for that.
Em 2006, estudo revelou que 56% de todos os psiquiatras que decidiam que desordens incluir no próximo DSM têm laços financeiros com pelo menos uma companhia farmacêutica. Hoje vemos as consequências. Uma inundação de drogas, cada uma dirigida a uma desordem inventada, que está apoiada por um diagnóstico arbitrário no DSM.
The fact that it is couched in the language of science, without necessarily having any of the scientific data or underpinnings to justify it, is as threatening as anything we've seen today.
E quais são as táticas mais recentes e dispendiosas da psiquiatria para enganar o público imitando a medicina legítima? Os scans cerebrais.
We can scan all the brains we want to. The fact that we see changes in different people's brains, changes in functioning, doesn't mean that we've discovered anything that has its origin in the brain. It just means that we're seeing changes, but it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the brain.
Psiquiatras e psicólogos usam o DSM para etiquetar 450 milhões de pessoas no mundo inteiro como doentes mentais. Um total igual à população da França, Itália, Alemanha, Canadá, Austrália, Reino Unido e Rússia combinadas. Enquanto a venda de drogas psiquiátricas superou os 27 mil milhões de dólares por ano, os fundos dos governos do mundo para esses pacientes dão benefícios brutos à psiquiatria de 440 mil milhões de dólares por ano. E uma grande parte deste dinheiro provém do diagnóstico e das drogas que são receitadas aos mais confiados e vulneráveis.
We have swallowed all manner of poisonous certainties fed us by our parents and school teachers. If the race is to be freed from its crippling burden of good and evil, it must be psychiatrists who take the original responsibility.
A declaração de Brock Chisholm É o ataque psiquiátrico dirigido diretamente ao nosso sistema escolar.
They actually said that the purpose was social control, not to pass on knowledge, not to give him something so that he can go into the world of work.
Em 1950, psiquiatras e psicólogos de todo o mundo reuniram-se na Casa Branca para propor uma reorientação total do sistema público escolar.
The White House Conference on Mental Health in the 1950s was a landmark that served to bolster the idea that schools would serve their communities better as mental health clinics than they would as institutions of learning.
In the early 60s, the world of psychiatry started to really go places in this country. Little by little, it came into our schools, our educational system.
E em 1965 converteu-se em lei. Foi dada a luz verde aos psiquiatras para que etiquetassem e drogassem os estudantes em grande número.
A child is labeled ADD or ADHD the minute he can't sit still for a 10-15 minute period of time, or he talks constantly, or ignores the teacher completely. That will get him and earn him an ADD or ADHD label.
Em 1987, etiquetava-se livremente as crianças com a desordem por déficit de atenção e hiperatividade. Só num ano, diagnosticou-se esta desordem a 500 mil crianças americanas. Em 1994, esse número subiu para 4,4 milhões. Em resposta ao alarme público generalizado pela aparente epidemia da doença mental, os Institutos Nacionais de Saúde financiados pelo governo dos Estados Unidos reuniram um painel de proeminentes médicos e psiquiatras para explicarem aos pais e educadores exatamente o que era essa desordem.
I would like any member of the panel to describe a typical ADHD in terms of symptomatology. Mark, would you like to? Since you see them in your practice.
I mean, I think the panel has been frank, and the difficulties here are immense in terms of these. I mean, it is hard. It's very hard to know how to answer this question. They cannot, even when. They are as if driven by a motive. There are some good clinical descriptions. And I think, I think part of the problem is the profession keeps changing the diagnosis.
At this time, we do not have a diagnostic test for ADHD. Therefore, the validity of the disorder continues to be a problem.
Mas esta escandalosa admissão não deteve os psiquiatras das escolas. 2 anos depois, o número de estudantes americanos diagnosticados com a desordem por déficit de atenção e hiperatividade elevou-se para 6 milhões. Hoje, 20 milhões de crianças no mundo foram etiquetadas com algum tipo de desordem de aprendizagem. Um diagnóstico frequentemente feito numa questão de minutos.
We would sit behind a two-way mirror along with the parents. We would then look at the child. We would do small manipulative activities with them to see where their deficit was. It was wrong what we were doing. We were looking at a 5-minute glimpse of this child's life and saying, okay, here you go. Here's a little pill, take it, you'll be fine.
Esses pequenos comprimidos, como a Ritalina, Adderall e Concerta, são classificados pela Agência de Combate às Drogas dos Estados Unidos como substâncias altamente criadoras de dependência, da mesma forma que a cocaína, a heroína e a metanfetamina.